The ocean is a vast and mysterious place, constantly revealing new secrets hidden beneath its surface. Scientists are discovering strange and fascinating creatures all the time, some of which are so bizarre they leave researchers stunned. From newly identified shark species to terrifying deep-sea creature lurking near thermal vents, here are 20 of the craziest sea creatures recently discovered. Number 20. The black-belly ninja lantern shark. If it sounds like this species of shark was named by an 8-year-old, well, it's because it was, actually, 2 8-year-olds were responsible for the ninja lantern shark's distinct moniker. The scientist who discovered the species, Vicky Vasquez, had tasked her small cousins with coming up with a name. Well, it could have turned out to be Fluffy Rainbow Unicorn Princess or Spider-Man Chicken Nugget, so Ninja Lantern Shark doesn't seem half bad. Probably makes the shark feel way cooler than it used to. Anyway, these sharks live in the Pacific coastal waters of Central America, from Nicaragua to Panama to Costa Rica. Growing to only about 1.6 feet in length, these sharks are black all over and really sleek-looking. They also have bioluminescence, like many other species of deep-water fish. Their black coloring and general glowing appearance reminded the children, who named them, of a super ninja. They have a more official and much more boring name in other circles, Edmopterus benchlii, which was chosen after the author of the book Jaws, Peter Benchley. Well, bless my stars and garters. Number 19. The scaly foot gastropod. Next up, I have another one of those weird creatures that just love to live in the spooky hydrothermal vents at the very deepest parts of the world's oceans. The scaly foot gastropod lives near hydrothermal vents in the Indian Ocean under conditions that would usually annihilate most other life forms. It is named for the iron sulfide scales that can be found covering the surface of its fleshy foot. These scales give the snail awesome protection against predators and somehow allow it to exist in the intense physical stresses of its deep-sea habitat. The shell structure is also particularly extraordinary. It consists of an outer iron sulfate layer, a middle layer of organic material that absorbs shock, and a calcified inner layer. This multi-layer design has actually inspired researchers who are developing impact-resistant materials for use by humans on Earth. It seems that the iron sulfide composition is probably formulated from the snail's environment, living near hydrothermal vents that spew out mineral-rich fluids. The gastropod adds these minerals into its own body defenses. There is no other animal known to work in quite this way. Unfortunately, like many other incredible creatures on this planet, the scaly foot gastropod is endangered. Apparently, the risks it faces come from human behavior in the form of deep-sea mining. Even this deep below the surface of the ocean, humans are trashing the entire planet at this point, aren't they? Number 18. Pink see-through Fantasia. With such a pretty-sounding name, what could possibly be in the least bit creepy about this animal? Well, this creature actually has an official name that translates to headless chicken monster, and it kind of looks like you might imagine it would, now doesn't it? This animal is actually a sort of deep-sea cucumber, an invertebrate marine animal that is part of the echinoderm family of sea dwellers, which also includes starfish and sea urchins. They may look a bit on the scary side, but these things are not exactly massive, nor are they any kind of threat to you. In fact, they mostly like to eat algae and flap about in the deepest of seas using their funny little fins. In actuality, humans pose more of a risk to the lowly old sea cucumber, as these things have been used in folk medicine and also prized as delicacies in many parts of the world. This new headless chicken is probably going to regret getting itself filmed, looking all like a tasty sea creature and getting named as a kind of chicken. But that isn't going to end well for this little animal in the end. Number 17. Zombie worms. Zombie worms are a type of deep-sea creature known for their taste for bones. That's right, these weird wigglers are all about eating the bones of things. They live deep below the surface and have been found at depths of 2,893 meters, where they can find the carcasses of dead whales, whose bones they just love to devour. These worms use their unique physiology to bore into the bone and reach the lipids inside. They feed on the collagen of the bones and make holes all throughout the skeletal structure. They also use those holes to hide from potential predators that will also, as we've seen before, feed on the enormous carcass of a whale. They were first discovered back in 2002 in Monterey Bay, California. The bone-eating worm uses acid to bore into the bones and extract all the nutrients, along with the help of symbiotic bacteria in their root-like structures. Most bizarrely, though, they neither have mouths nor stomachs but rather rely entirely on this bacterial partnership for their survival. The female worms dominate the ecosystem, attaching themselves to bones and hosting herds of microscopic males within their tubes. The males exist purely to fertilize the eggs. This is a strategy that ensures the species thrives in deep-sea environments. Fossils suggest that these worms have been around for millions of years, found to be feeding on marine reptiles like plesiosaurs during the age of dinosaurs. Number 16. Coffin fish. Although it may sound like the kind of fish you would come across in the Addams Family's aquarium, it is not entirely as spooky as it sounds. Basically, All of the animals that live in the deeper parts of the ocean are subject to our more irrational fears and anxieties about the unknown. The deeper they dwell, the less we seem to know about them, and that is probably why we give many of them the most unflattering sorts of names. The poor old coffin fish is a case in point. Coffin fish are also known by another goth-sounding name, the sea toad. These deep-sea dwelling creatures are certainly rather strange-looking, but this is because they are brilliantly adapted to their living environment. Coffin fish have developed special fins that they use for walking on the seafloor. They also have enormous gill chambers that inflate by expanding the animal's body with water, which apparently allows them to take up more oxygen. This adaptation may be one of the best for conserving their valuable energy in a food-scarce environment like their natural habitat. Number 15. The puffer fish. Pufferfish are the second most poisonous vertebrate on the planet. Even in second place, though, these fish each contain enough deadly tetrodotoxin to kill 30 humans, so I reckon second place is basically irrelevant. They're named the pufferfish for the weird way in which they protect themselves from would-be predators in the wild. They can puff themselves up to make it extremely difficult for a predator to keep hold of them or even sink their teeth in. In reality, this defense mechanism probably saves the predator's life as often as it does the fish's, because just one nibble could kill. Although their reputation as a super deadly poisonous fish is extremely well known, there are still plenty of people out there who want to eat the thing. It's crazy, but it's true. In Japan, the fish is a delicacy, but it absolutely must be prepared by a highly skilled, certified person. Make one tiny wrong cut when preparing the fish, and whoever eats it is a goner. This is a serious business, and although there's approximately 1 death per year from ingesting this delicacy, these are almost always caused by people attempting to prepare the fish themselves rather than paying the high restaurant prices for an expert to do it properly. Now it's time for today's topic. Deep-sea thermal vents are home to some of the most fascinating and bizarre creatures on the planet. These hydrothermal hotspots support life forms that thrive in extreme conditions, some even glowing in complete darkness. While scientists have documented sharks and strange tube worms near these vents, nothing could prepare a team of deep-sea researchers for what they just encountered. Exploring the Mid-Atlantic Ridge's thermal vent region, a team of diverse studying deep-sea ecosystems detected an unusual bioluminescent anomaly. At first, they thought it was a jellyfish swarm until the glowing form began to move, and it was massive. The creature had razor-thin appendages resembling elongated claws, a mouth lined with needle-like teeth, and 2 piercing, glowing eyes. It emitted pulsating blue light, seemingly scanning its surroundings. The team captured footage before the entity darted into the abyss faster than any known deep-sea species. Scientists are now analyzing the images, which have been digitally enhanced to showcase its bioluminescence as seen through human eyes. While experts debate whether this is an undiscovered predator or an anomaly of evolution, one thing is certain: this deep-sea nightmare raises more questions than answers. Number 14. Cone snails. A slow-moving snail with carnivorous tendencies needs a ruthlessly efficient system to stop its prey from wandering off, and the cone snail has developed one of the deadliest and most effective poison delivery techniques on the planet. The venom that the cone snail uses can paralyze its prey almost instantly, and that is some scary stuff. The cone snail also has a very particular way to get the poison into its prey. They have a sort of harpoon-like tooth that they fire out of the front of them, which pokes into their victim and delivers the deadly toxic cocktail. It's brutally efficient. Oddly, though, scientists have discovered that certain isolated parts of the toxic combination may have some huge medical possibilities as painkillers. Despite the pain-killing potential hidden inside the lethal venom, humans have indeed been killed by the venomous sting of a cone snail. There's actually no known antidote to the venom, so the only hope you have if you do get stung is that you can be kept alive by machines and medical miracles until the toxins wear off. This is a bit of a risky business, really, so if it's a cone, leave it alone. Number 13. Blobfish. Oh, look at these guys, with a face like Mr. Meeseeks or a piece of rude graffiti. The poor old blobfish gets a whole bunch of abuse. Declared by some to be the ugliest animal in the world, the blobfish is kind of fascinating. Their features can be eerily human, but usually in a comical way, like a grumpy-faced old cartoon grandpa rather than that of a spooky human face that you sometimes see other animals sporting. The blobfish has a big gelatinous head with huge lips, small eyes, and often a particularly displeased expression. You'd probably look a bit cross, too, if people kept making jokes about your face. These unfortunate fish belong to a family of sea creatures usually known by the more common name of fathead sculpin. These guys just can't catch a break. The blobfish is perfectly adapted to where it lives. Its gelatinous appearance is the result of having very few bones. Living at depths of 2,000 feet, the pressure down there would crush other types of bodies, so the blobfish's wobbly body doesn't seem so silly after all, now does it? Number 12. Black Sea Devil. Next up, we have a super creepy deep-sea dweller called the Black Sea Devil. It sounds really friendly, I know, so then what is the problem? Well, have a look at the thing's teeth for starters. This fish has a gelatinous, round body that is mostly free from scales. They have a huge head and loads of very sharp, fang-like teeth. Some of them even have spines on their bodies, because they weren't scary enough to begin with. They're a type of anglerfish, meaning that they live in deep waters, mostly near the seafloor. So, they are amongst those odd creatures that have their own source of luminescence that they use in the weird and fleshy thing that dangles out of the top of their head. This thing is their lure that they use to attract their prey, like an angler with a fishing line. Anglerfish are really efficient hunters. Not only do they have a whole bunch of extremely unpleasant sharp and pointy teeth, but they also have absolutely gargantuan mouths. The anglerfish's massive mouth extends the entire circumference of their head, and can be extended to such a colossal width that these scary sea dwellers can swallow prey that is twice their own size. Number 11. The Dumbo octopus. These octopuses live at the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean. The deepest of any known octopus species is, in fact, 13,100 feet, meaning that these animals are adapted to live in very cold water without any sunlight at all. The rare Dumbo octopus also has some unusual behaviors to help them find a mate and successfully reproduce. When the options are limited and there are very few of the species, it's necessary to get creative. Now, it is a tiny bit icky, but you'll be all right. The female Dumbo octopus basically carries a variety of eggs around in different stages of development. So, whenever they meet a male, they like to stock up on sperm. You just never know when you might find another eligible bachelor for 1 or more miles down in the dark. They have the unique ability to store the sperm for long periods of time after mating. This means that whenever they have optimum conditions for making babies, the female Dumbo octopus can deploy the stored sperm with the most suitably developed eggs, thus ensuring the best chance for successful reproduction. It's kind of empowering, really. Number 10. Leafy sea dragons. The leafy sea dragon is found in southern Australia's coastal waters. The thing is a master of camouflage, and it's not called leafy for nothing. Naturally, the leafy sea dragons are named for their elaborate, leaf-like dangly bits, which look uncannily like floating seaweed. This disguise helps them to evade predators in their native habitats of seagrass meadows and rocky reefs. Unlike their close relatives, the seahorse, leafy sea dragons don't have a fancy tail, but instead use drifting, swaying movements to mimic underwater vegetation. Underneath all of this fluffy stuff, however, there is a kind of bony armor. They're equipped with nearly transparent fins that are super difficult to detect, keeping them extra stealthy. They feed in a way that's basically like a vacuum cleaner. They have a pipe-like snout that sucks up all the teeny-weeny prey around them with ruthless precision. They have no teeth, and they don't even have a stomach, so they just basically have to eat a whole lot all the time in order to survive. Like seahorses, leafy sea dragon males are also very important in the birth and care of the young. These creatures are currently listed as near threatened by the IUCN and are the focus of several conservation initiatives within Australia. Number 9. The box jellyfish. The box jellyfish. Perhaps not the most obviously cute in all the animal kingdom, but they do have a certain charm. Perhaps you prefer your cuteness kind of wobbly and see-through rather than fluffy and cuddly. Takes all sorts, after all. But even if this creature is your idea of cuteness incarnate, whatever you do, do not touch it. Funny little bit in the middle there, you can see its eyes. That's right, these are the most venomous of all marine animals, and that's really saying something. These wibbly-wobbly super stingers have long tentacles that are basically covered in a whole bunch of tiny poison-loaded darts. If you pet one of these puppies, that death juice is likely as not going to be injected right into your bloodstream, and then I'm afraid you are as good as dead, sunshine. The venom works quickly, but it's painful nonetheless. It causes paralysis, cardiac arrest, and often death within a few minutes of being stung. Luckily, out of over 50 species of jellyfish, only a few of those are actually deadly to humans, so that's a relief then. But still, even if you think they are cute, don't even think about touching them. Number 8. The gulper eel. The gulper eel, which is also known as the pelican eel, is one of the most unusual and, quite frankly, most creepy animals that you may ever come across in the deep seas of our incredible planet. Isn't gulper a fun word, though? Go on and say it, gulper. You see, anyways, this gulper eel looks sort of like a standard eel, all long body and not much else. They're related to all the other sea-based eels, like the ugly old moray. These gulpers are black in color and are not exactly gigantic, not when they're compared to some of the other eel species, anyway. These guys are, on average, only between 2 and 3 feet in length. These sea creatures live in the deep ocean and can be found at depths from anywhere between 1,600 and 10,000 feet below the surface. But what actually makes them freaky and fascinating is their ginormous gulping mouth. It doesn't just go around with a big old wide open mouth all the time. The gulper eel is able to expand its mouth like a big balloon so that it can swallow its prey. Afterwards, the eel deflates its mouth and then returns to its regular old eel-shaped body. These mysterious sea creatures are really very seldomly seen, so not that much is actually known about them. That adds to the overall creep factor, now doesn't it? Number 7. Basket stars. These creatures are amongst the most mysterious and unusual in all of our seas, and that really is saying something. Basket stars are a species distinguished from other brittle stars by their extremely complex arms. Basket stars' arms repeatedly branch out and make a dense network that would be capable of spanning several feet if it were fully unfurled. This elaborate structure is not only for show but also an ingenious feeding apparatus that allows the stars to sweep up loads of plankton and organic matter from the water. Once it's caught, the prey is then transported along grooves in the arms that are lined with tiny little feet to the mouth. It's kind of weird. They're also super good at curling themselves up really tight in order to get rid of any potential predators that might be bold enough to be hanging out in the extreme depths in which they live. Despite their delicate and lacy appearance, basket stars are actually quite resilient, thriving in deep-sea environments where few creatures can survive. They are often found clinging to sponges, corals, or rocky surfaces, using their flexible arms to anchor themselves against strong underwater currents. Some species are even bioluminescent, emitting a faint glow to either attract prey or startle predators. When they feel threatened, they can shed parts of their arms as a defense mechanism, similar to how lizards drop their tails. Scientists are fascinated by their regenerative abilities, as basket stars can regrow lost limbs over time. Their complex movements, almost hypnotic as they extend and retract their arms, make them one of the ocean's most mesmerizing spectacles. Though they remain relatively understudied, basket stars continue to intrigue marine biologists, who are eager to uncover more secrets about these extraordinary deep-sea creatures. Number 6. Snailfishes. The next up, we have a creature that also goes by the name impossible fish. No, that does not refer to it being a vegan substitute like a burger or whatever. It's impossible because, weirdly, it seems to be able to live at depths where it should never be able to survive, let alone thrive. Until they encountered the snailfish, scientists had been under the impression that fish could not live below 8,200 meters. They thought it was simply physiologically impossible. But then, some researchers from Japan and Australia discovered a snailfish living at 8,336 meters in a trench, and it broke all previous records that had been held by another snailfish in the Mariana Trench. These fish are crazy looking, but then again, they generally live in the dark where nothing else exists, so what really do they care? Even more astonishing is how these creatures manage to survive the immense pressure at those depths, which is equivalent to having about 800 elephants standing on top of you. Unlike most fish, snailfish lack swim bladders, the gas-filled organs that help fish control their buoyancy. Instead, their bodies are gelatinous, allowing them to withstand the crushing pressures of the deep. Their translucent, scaleless skin adds to their ghostly, alien-like appearance, making them one of the most bizarre-looking creatures in the ocean. Scientists have also discovered that these fish have high concentrations of a unique compound called TMAO, which helps stabilize their proteins and cellular functions under extreme pressure. They are believed to be top predators in their isolated, pitch-black habitats, feeding on tiny crustaceans and other deep-sea organisms. This discovery has left marine biologists questioning whether there could be even deeper living creatures waiting to be found, pushing the limits of what we think is possible in the abyssal world. Number 5. The vampire squid. The vampire squid, despite its name, is apparently neither a squid nor an octopus. Presumably, it's not even actually a vampire, but we should probably just make sure. The vampire squid is a kind of small seapod. They live in tropical and temperate waters around the world at a depth of between 2,000 and 3,000 feet, at temperatures of about 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. Ooh, that's cold. That's between 35.5 and 37.5 degrees Fahrenheit. These unique animals are completely different from other species and are regrettably considered to be endangered on account of pollution and the destruction of their habitats. So, you could probably see why they're called vampire squid. They're black or red in color and have weird web-like skin that has the appearance of a vampire cape. They also have some extremely spooky red eyes, but they don't change their body color or release ink when threatened like other squid do. They do eject a glowing, sticky mucus that acts in a similar way and confuses would-be predators. It doesn't seem as though they go around sucking blood, though, and they're not plagued by that pesky affliction of immortality. What's even stranger is how they eat. Unlike other deep-sea predators that actively hunt, vampire squid feed on marine snow, a mixture of dead organic material, plankton, and fecal matter that drifts down from the upper layers of the ocean. They use specialized, hair-like structures on their tentacles to trap these tiny particles and then wrap them into mucus-covered food balls before consuming them. While they might look scary, they are actually quite passive, relying on their low-energy lifestyle to survive in the oxygen-deprived depths of the ocean. Another fascinating adaptation is their ability to turn themselves inside out when threatened. By flipping their cape-like web over their bodies and exposing spiky-looking projections, they create the illusion of being much larger and more dangerous than they actually are. Scientists are still studying these deep-sea enigmas, as their bizarre biology challenges much of what we know about cephalopods and their ability to thrive in some of the most extreme environments on Earth. Number 4. The glass octopus. The glass octopus is a spooky and elusive creature that's found, that is, if you can see it, in tropical and subtropical waters worldwide. It's literally designed to vanish into its surroundings and evade predators. True to its name, the glass octopus is almost entirely transparent. In fact, its internal organs are the only visible structures. This translucence makes these octopuses more or less invisible in the deep sea, where light is scarce and predators rely on silhouettes to hunt. Unlike many of its seapod relatives, the glass octopus doesn't contain the stuff that allows other species to change color. Instead, it uses its invisibility as its greatest defense. These things are extremely hard to find, and that means that they are also super tricky to study. So much of what we do know about the glass octopus actually comes from rare glimpses that have been captured by deep-sea submersibles and trawling nets. It's believed that these creatures live at depths between 200 and 1,000 meters, and probably feature a diet consisting of small crustaceans and plankton. But hardly anyone has ever seen one, let alone watched one as it goes about its business. So, really, who could possibly say? Number 3. The Yeti crab. This next creature is officially called Kiwa hirsuta, which is an indication of its somewhat hairy appearance. But unofficially, the name Yeti crab has stuck, and it is easy to see why. This hairy crustacean was discovered off the Pacific-Antarctic ridge of the South Pacific Ocean. These crabs love to hang out in the very deep sea, near hydrothermal vents. These vents are found near areas of volcanic activity, in places where tectonic plates are moving apart. There are both white smokers and black smokers, with the colors depending on the type of chemicals emitted by the particular hydrothermal vent. Although these phenomena spew out some fairly toxic stuff, they are also surprisingly adept at supporting an entire array of marine life. In fact, there is a school of thought in the scientific community that believes that all life on Earth may have originated from hydrothermal vents. There are believed to be similar things on the moon of Jupiter, beneath its ice cover. So, then what does that mean? Well, you guessed it, it's aliens because it's always aliens. But let's get back to the Yeti crab itself because it's got some pretty weird habits. Scientists believe that the hair on its claws and body is actually covered in bacteria that help it survive in the extreme conditions near these vents. Some researchers suggest that the crab even farms these bacteria, using them as a food source in an environment where traditional meals are hard to come by. That's right, the Yeti crab may be a deep-sea farmer, growing its own food right on its body. It also has an unusual way of moving, often seen holding its claws up in the hot water from the vents, possibly to encourage bacterial growth. Despite its rather monstrous name, the Yeti crab is completely blind, having lost the ability to see in the eternal darkness of the deep sea. Instead, it relies on its sense of touch and chemical detection to navigate its extreme habitat. Scientists continue to study this bizarre crustacean, believing that its adaptations could offer insights into how life survives in the most hostile conditions on Earth, and perhaps even beyond. Number 2. Dragonfish. Although the dragonfish is only about 6 inches long, it still cuts a fearsome figure in the deep, dark ocean, especially if you're a teeny-weeny creature that the dragonfish loves to call lunch. These eel-shaped predators have extremely gruesome grins. Their fong-line jaws are one of the things that make them formidable hunters, as it allows them to eat prey almost half their own size. These nasty teeth and dead-eyed faces make the fish scary enough, but the thing that puts them into the category of nightmares is their powers of invisibility. I mean, seriously, these creatures have fangs that are almost totally transparent, which means that they blend into their surroundings, and their potential prey can hardly see those nasty big jaws as they clamp down on their heads. To add a decidedly spooky element to the dragonfish's already scary appearance, it also emits an eerie bioluminescent glow. This glow is produced by specialized photophores along its body, which help it lure unsuspecting prey into its deadly jaws. But what makes the dragonfish even more terrifying is its ability to produce a specific type of bioluminescence in the infrared spectrum, an ability that most deep-sea creatures don't have. This allows the dragonfish to essentially use night vision in the pitch-black ocean depths, spotting prey that can't see it coming. Furthermore, its body is covered in light-absorbing skin that prevents it from reflecting any light, making it nearly invisible to other creatures lurking in the deep. Scientists have been studying this unique adaptation, hoping to develop new materials that mimic the dragonfish's stealthy camouflage. Add to that the fact that dragonfish can survive at crushing depths of over 5,000 feet, and you have one of the most well-equipped hunters in the darkest parts of the ocean. Number 1. Barrel eye fish. Now, this fish does look super weird, and it seems that the deeper we look into the oceans of the world, the stranger the sea creatures become. The barrel eye fish is one such oddity, equipped for a starring role in a science fiction film. The The barrel eye has a transparent, dome-shaped head with extra-sensitive, tube-shaped eyes that are covered by a green, liquid-filled shield. Beautiful, right? It helps the creature to spot prey above them, even if they're swimming in the pitch-black darkness of the very deep oceans. They also have a pair of nostrils that look like sad eyes and a pointy snout with a small mouth. They have flat, elongated fins in order to move through the water by simply floating motionlessly, and their bodies contain a selection of luminous organs, giving the fish an otherworldly glow. Now, while the fish is no oil painting, it's hard to argue that it isn't well adapted to its deep-sea habitat. This may be one of the best-equipped fish for functioning down there. While other deep-dwelling animals have lost their sight, the barrel-eye fish has honed its vision to work even in the gloom. This definitely gives them an edge in the food-finding and eating category, and perhaps in evading predators as well. That's a wrap on today's deep dive into the darkest and most mysterious corners of the ocean. Which of these extraordinary creatures fascinated you the most? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the other cool content popping up on your screen, and I'll see you next time.